Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Farming Simulator 2022, or just 22, and we're going to be doing another classic tractor lineup, this time for Oliver. And so before we dive into the video, I do want to say I have a real-life farming channel on which I do all of my real-life farming activities. So if you're interested in agriculture and would like to see that, check the link in the description, or, if I've remembered to do it, the pinned comment, which should also have a link to that channel. Subscribe, check out some stuff, like the videos, comment on them, whatever. It's good stuff. I really enjoy what I do on that channel, and I think it's fairly entertaining. But for all that being said, this is going to follow the basic premise of the other videos I've done for Farming Simulator 2022 so far. I started with some Deutz ones, then I did a Minneapolis Moline one, now I'm doing an Oliver one. Now, I've always been a fan of Olivers. I don't know nearly as much about them as I know about Deutz's, for two reasons, one of which is I'm a bigger fan of Deutz's, and the other one being I use Deutz's a lot more. I have very limited experience with Oliver. I know quite a few people that use them, and I also just particularly like several of the models a lot, so I've done some research, and so I'm fairly familiar with them as a company, and I am fairly familiar with most of the AGCO related brands, and since Oliver was a founding brand of white, that folds right into there. So with all that being said, this is actually a fairly simple lineup because the vast majority of these models, and there are 15 distinct tractor models here, the vast majority of them are added with one mod, so awesome props to that mod author for actually putting them all together, but we only have 3 mods total, and those will all be linked in the description if you would like to get your hands on this tractor lineup. And it is fairly comprehensive, going from 53 horsepower with our smallest model here, all the way up to 200 horsepower with our big 4x4 over there. So if you want to play the game and run your farm using nothing but classic Oliver tractors, you can in fact do so with this lineup. Before we get into the specific tractors that I'm showing you today, I do just want to talk a little bit about Oliver first because I enjoy tractor history and such. And so the Oliver Farm Equipment Company was founded in 1924, but the Oliver family's involvement with the plow business dates back to 1855 when James Oliver bought a quarter interest in the South Bend foundry. In 1857, Oliver and his partner Harry Little began making chilled plowshares, which had a hard outer skin that could work well in heavy, sticky soils. The Oliver Company became known as the plow maker for the world and exported plows to South America, Africa, Australia, and France. And that's a reputation that they held all the way through into the white days for Oliver, because their plows were some of the best ever, and pretty much everybody, even people who aren't big fans of Oliver or are bigger fans of their competitors, will often recognize Oliver makes a damn good plow, or made a dang good plow. But that being said, for Oliver itself, not just talking about the plow company, 4 companies actually came together to make this company. So in April of 1929, the Oliver Farm Equipment Company was founded by combining the Oliver Chilled Plow Company from 1855, the Hart Parr Tractor Company from 1897, often hailed as the first successful tractor manufacturer in the world, the American Seeding Machine Company, and Nichols and Shepard Company, which are both from 1848. So all 4 of those companies merged together in April of 1929 to form the Oliver Farm Equipment Company. And that's a lot of heritage under there. So we've got some of your original plow makers, and as far as the American Seeding Machine Company and the Nichols and Shepard Company, those are even older companies from 1848. So a lot of stuff came together to make a hell of a tractor brand. And that goes all the way up until November 1st, 1960, when White Motor Corporation of Cleveland, Ohio, ended up purchasing Oliver and changing them to changing the name of that division of their company to the Oliver Corporation. And it then became a wholly owned subsidiary of the White Motor Company. They did operate somewhat independently for a while under the White umbrella, introducing a series of tractors in the 55 series. So you get the 1555, the 1655, 1755, etc. Those are all still independent Oliver, or at least most people see them as independent Oliver tractors, not White tractors, manufactured in and looking like Oliver tractors, just under the White umbrella. It wasn't until later when pretty much everything would just be rebranded and all of the different subsidiaries, Cockshut, Oliver, Minneapolis Moline, would just start producing White tractors. But with all that being said, we've talked about the history of Oliver long enough. Let's actually look at some of these tractors. And so starting out in the small tractor section, we can start with the smallest, which will be part of the 50 series. series, and it is the Oliver 1550. This one is a 53 horsepower tractor. All of these in the 50 series will have the same options, so I can show you them here, and those are for wheel setup, you'll have row crop single tires, rear dual tires, or a left side plow dual, so a plowing setup. So you have those three options for all of the 50 series. Then you also have open station or canopy. Those are your two cockpit options. And then of course it says front loader attacher, but that doesn't seem to have any sort of a physical appearance, so I would just go with no, because I'm just guessing the loader doesn't work on this series. But the 50 series that's added through these mods includes the 1550, which has 53 horsepower, the 1600, which has 61 horsepower, the 1650, which has 68 horsepower, the 1750, which has 80 horsepower, the 1800, which has 74 horsepower, interesting change there, the 1850, which has 92 horsepower. And so the 50 series, or what I'm calling, well, the double odd and 50 series, because they're lumped together here, goes all the way from 53 horsepower up to 92 horsepower. And like I said, fairly limited options for the design, but more than enough, I think, for accuracy, considering, you know, what was available as options for these tractors when they came out. Then, of course, moving up to the 55 series, and of course, these are the ones that will be branded as white Olivers. This goes from the 1555 with 58 horsepower to the 1655 with 70, the 1755 with 86, the 1855 with 92, and the 1855 turbo diesel with 150. And so I think that's probably pumped up a little bit for the mod. I don't think the 1855 turbo diesel actually had 150 horse in real life. Not an expert on that model, but it sounds high to me. But all of the 55 series tractors have these options. So you can see we have row crop single tires, rear dual tires, or the left side plow dual. We also have front wheel assist. Then we also have rear duals with front wheel assist, rear duals or front wheel assist with the plow setup, and yeah, so that's the option. So you can see that we get all of the same options as the other series, but considering the 55 series came with front wheel assist, whereas the double odd and 50 series did not, we get all of those options also in front wheel assist. Then we also get weight options, so no weights, the bracket 300 and 500, so those are our weight options. We have an additional option, so we have open station, we have the canopy, and we get a cabin option. And then for this one, the front loader actually does appear when you select it, so you do get the choice of a front loader for all of these models. And so that's the 55 series. Moving up to our medium tractors, where we'll find the other ones, we can start with our 2255. So this is, for a while there, was the biggest Oliver tractor that you could get your hands on, and this one comes in two different variations, both with the Caterpillar engine, just like in real life they had a Caterpillar engine. So we have the 9.4 liter 8-cylinder diesel, which gives us 140 horsepower, or the 10.4 liter 8-cylinder diesel, which gives us 160 horsepower. Unfortunately, this mod for some reason doesn't give you any canopy options. It just gives you that the white cab that these were available with at the time. I would have liked open cockpit because I like the 2255. It's one of my favorite tractors just overall, and I always really liked it the best with that open canopy. But yeah, we get both those engine options. Then we can do our standard wheel setup, our wide tires, wide tires 2, which just widens out the rear ones more, narrow tires, or our rear twin wheels, or our quad twin wheels. So those are all of our tire options. And then again, we have weight options, so no weights, weight set 1, or weight set 2. So those are our various different options. So you can make this one look pretty beefy. So we're looking at a 160 horse tractor with quad duals and presumably 500 pounds of weights on the front. That's a pretty heavy duty tractor for a lot of different applications. Then we move up to our biggest ones, which is the Oliver 2655. This one is a interesting tractor because in real life this was manufactured by White, and they manufactured, I believe, 4 different versions of the exact same tractor. They had one painted yellow that they called the Minneapolis Moline AT4 1600, and that one was, I should say, 2 there because both of them were branded as Minneapolis Moline, but I think one was yellow and one was red. Then they had this one, they painted it green, branded it the 2655 under Oliver, and sold that one, literally the same tractor except for the color and branding. And then they also had one that was branded as just white. So it was one of the first models that the White umbrella manufactured just as a white tractor. And I think that one might have also been red, or like two-toned, and one of them was red. But anyway, the Oliver 2655 comes with several different options. So you can see up here we have our stock options, and then stock with a chrome pipe. Then we have our turbo option and turbo with a chrome pipe. So you can see we have a 169 horsepower version and a 200 horsepower version with the turbo there. Then we have several different options for our wheels. We have stock, stock duals, wide duals, and wide duals with weights. Then we have yes or no options for our air conditioner, so yes or no there, our fender, and our beacon. So all of those are yes and no. So if you want to max out the biggest Oliver tractor that we can get our hands on with these different mods, this is it right here. We've got our wide dual wheels with weights, giving us extra flotation and weight. We have 200 turbocharged horsepower, and honestly, it's a pretty solid working tractor. Can be used for pretty heavy duty applications here in the game as long as you keep your pull behind equipment aspirations realistic. And so you can see that I have them lined up in somewhat of an order here. I've got the double odd and the 50 series on this side, ranged up from, like I said, our little 1550 all the way up to our 1850, and then I just have one of these, the 2655 sitting over here. This is the 169 horsepower version. Here's the 200 horsepower version of the 2655, and then on this side we have the 55 series. So here's our Oliver 1555, here's our 1655, 1755, 1855, 1855 turboed, and then we have our 2255 and our 2255 essentially turboed. They're different Caterpillar engines. This one's the, I believe, 9.4 and this one's the 10.4 liter. So I wasn't aware of two different engine versions for the 2255. I thought there was only one in real life, but and maybe there is. Maybe this mod is just adding extra options for the game. But whatever the case is, it gives us a pretty robust lineup of different tractors to use. The sound files on these are not ridiculously impressive. They're okay. So I'll show them to you now, give you a couple examples. They all sound pretty similar for the double odd and 50 series and the 55 series. In my opinion, I think they sound pretty much identical. So they're probably just the same sound files. Our big 4x4s have a different sound file, and so do our 2255. So I'll just show you a couple examples. So you can see we get a unique startup sound, and then a sound where it gets us up to our RPMs, and then you can start going. And then our shifting and driving sounds sound somewhat normal for what you're going to expect out of most of the tractors that you can mod into this game. If we go into first-person view, you can see we have a very simple cockpit, not a lot of detail on here. Just a clutch, our two sides brakes. We have one gear shift lever down here in the side, in the middle, and then our dash is fairly simple. Interestingly, going into first person, even though there's no cab, it does muffle it quite a bit, which is an interesting phenomenon that I wish existed in real life. Then if we go check out the other series here, our 55 series, you can see we get basically the same thing. We have a distinct startup sound and then a revolution drop, and then we get our RPMs up to running speed, and we can start driving. Get the same sort of shifting sound as we get up to speed. This one, I think, has a slightly more interesting first-person view. It's still very, very simple and the same basic layout. One interesting thing is that they do have the faux wood grain dash that Oliver's had, which I always thought was funny. But I'm glad that they modded it in here. Once again, we get that weird magic muffling effect. But here, just to show you that the sound files don't vary much, so that was the smallest of the double odd and 50 series, and then the 55 series. I can go to the largest of each series now, and I'll tell you, it's exactly the same sounds. So there's that one, and then the largest for this series is our 1855 turbo diesel. So that's somewhat disappointing. I mean, it's realistic because I'm sure the mod author doesn't have an example that he was able to record from personally for each one of these models, but all of them, like I said, every single one of those has exactly the same sound file, so they all sound exactly the same starting up. Like I said, our 2255s and our big 4x4s are different, so that's nice. So here's our smaller of the 2255s. You can see we get a much quicker startup, fires up right away and gets going. And then we have a deeper rumble with a quicker muffler vibrate-y sound from our, you know, the cap on the, or the rattle cap on top of our muffler. I'm not saying it's more accurate. The other sound effects are probably more accurate, but I like having a little bit of variation. But there is no variation from the small variant and the large variant for the 2255. You can see it sounds exactly the same, starts up in exactly the same amount of time, and sounds exactly the same to drive it. Whoa, Nelly! I probably shouldn't have underestimated the turning requirements there, though. Well, I'm glad it's not real life, because I'd be pretty upset if I had a pristine classic Oliver collection, and I rammed one of them into two of the other ones. I'd be pretty upset about that in real life. Then, of course, we get, like I said, these ones also have a unique startup sound and driving sound. Here's our smaller 2655. So it's got a deeper but quieter sound. If we go to first person, you can see inside the cab it's fairly basic, so not a ton of detail inside here, but also significantly quieter than it is driving it on the outside. And just for posterity's sake, even though it's exactly the same, here's our biggest one, our 200 horsepower horse. So like I said, sounds exactly the same starting up, looks exactly the same inside. So nothing crazy for sound files here, but honestly, I really, really like this lineup. Like I said at the beginning, I am a big fan of Oliver tractors, so I possibly have a little bit of a bias there, but I think that these are pretty solid mods on the whole. The tractors work and drive really well. They don't have any weird quirks about them that I really don't like, and like I said, we have a wide range from 53 horsepower all the way up to 200. So like I said, if you keep your requirements for what you would like to work with realistic in the game, then you can easily run a farm in FS22 just using these classic Oliver tractors. So that's all for today. Like I said, I have a link to my real-life farming channel in the description and hopefully in the pinned comment, and I also have links for the mods required to download these excellent Oliver tractors into FS22 in the description. So that's all for today. Thanks a ton for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.